We are going to be in 4.6. Today we're going to be talking about solving inequalities using multiplication and division. There's an idea that I want you guys to write down with your red pen. We talked about this yesterday, but we're really going to use it in our lesson today. So if you would, please write this statement down at the top of your notes. Okay, so today's notes, we're going to be solving the inequalities and graphing the solutions just like we've been doing the past few days. But the new idea is this idea in red. Guys, read to me what it is that you just wrote down. If the last thing you do is multiply or divide by a negative number on both sides, you flip the sign. Okay, so let's see what we've got to do. First things first, everybody identify the variable.
X.
What is not allowing x to be alone?
Divide by 5.
How do I get rid of divide by 5? Very good job. What you do to one side? Excellent. Okay, so 5 divided by 5 we know equals 1. So that's just going to be 1x. So I'll just bring down the x. Remember, you want to bring down that inequality symbol. Guys, what does that inequality symbol say? Less than or equal to. Okay, and now let's focus on this. A negative times a positive always equals a negative. So what would the correct answer be? Negative 15. Let's look back at this rule that we just said. If the last thing you do is multiply or divide by a negative number on both sides, you have to flip the sign. Notice what I did here. I multiplied by a positive 5 and a positive 5. Should I flip my sign?
No.
No, those are not negative numbers. Okay, so I'm going to keep the sign exactly as it is. Everybody please box in your answer. Now it asks us to graph the solution. MJ, how many numbers will we put on our number line? 3. 1, 2, 3. What number goes in the middle, Nasir? Negative 15. Jace, what is 1 smaller than negative 15? 1 smaller. Think about dollars. What would be worse than owing someone $15? It would be worse. Good job, to owe them $16. So technically, negative 14 would actually be closer to 0, which means it is bigger. Jocelyn, is this an open or a closed circle?
Closed.
It is closed because I can say, if I wanted to plug this number in, I could say negative 15 is less than or equal to negative 15, okay, because it's equal to. Now, once again, this says less than. All solutions are less than negative 15. If everything's going to be less than, should I go to the left or to the right? Left. To the left. Everyone say less than left.
Less than.
Okay. As it gets smaller, you always go to the left. So a less than sign will always go to the left on a graph. Let's move on to the next one. Abby, there's something wrong with problem B. What's wrong with it before we ever get started? The variable is on the right side. It's not first. We always want that variable on the left side. So I want you guys to take your red pens and just draw a little arrow like this. That will help us to remember if the variable is on the right side, we need to switch it to being on the left. So now the 2/3 p will be on the left and the negative 3 will be on the right. If I flip the numbers, what do I need to do to my sign? You also have to flip the sign. Instead of greater than, now it will say less than. Okay, so now we're ready to begin our problem. I am multiplying by a fraction. What do I have to do to get rid of that fraction so p can be by itself? Ellie? I need to divide by a fraction. Now, that would be a lot of steps. There's a little trick that I taught you way back in 4.2 of what you can do. Does anyone remember what to do? Nasir? Multiply it by the reciprocal on both sides. So guys, instead of multiplying by 2/3, what would the reciprocal be? 3 over 2. So I'm going to multiply by 3/2 on the left, which means I also have to multiply by 3/2 on the right. If I want to, I can put this over 1 so that they both look like fractions. Reagan Stevens, what happens to 3/2 times 2/3? Is there anything there that I can cross reduce? Yes. What happens to the 3s? A 1. What happens to the 2s? A 1. So I'm left with 1 over 1, or just plain old p. Okay, so let's drop down the p. Those can cancel out. We're going to drop down the symbol. Now, Reagan, multiply the top. What's negative 3 times positive 3?
3. What does that mean, 0?
What's 3 times 3? 9, okay? And we're going to keep the negative. Divided by, what's the bottom part? 1 times 2? 2. Okay, now this is an improper fraction, and I do not want to leave something as an improper fraction. The only time you have permission to do that is if it started improper, but it did not start improper. So we need to switch this to a mixed number. Can someone explain to me how I would switch this to a mixed number? Jonathan? You would divide. Very good, okay? If you know how to do that in your head, do it in your head. If you don't, just do it off to the side. 9 divided by 2. Guys, how many times can 2 go into a 9? 4 times. 4 times 2 is 8, and the fraction left over would be 1/2. Now remember, this was a negative, which means my mixed number is also going to be a negative 4 1/2. Do I need to flip the symbol? Remember, the only time you flip the symbol is if the last thing you did is multiply or divide by a negative number on both sides. Was that what I did? No, look, I multiplied right here by a positive fraction, and I multiplied by a positive fraction. So I do not need to flip the symbol, which means this is my final answer. Let's go ahead and graph this. Autumn, what number should go in the middle?
Negative 4 1/2.
Very good. Class, what is bigger than negative 4 1/2?
Negative 5.
Think about negatives.
Negative 5 1/2.
What would be better than having negative $4.50?
Negative 3.
Negative $3.50. Okay, remember, if it's helpful to you, you can always write a number line at the top of your quiz or test or homework to help you visualize negatives on a number line. Okay? Ellie, is this an open or a closed circle? It is an open circle because there's no equal to sign. Maddie, going back up here, it says all solutions are less than negative 4 1/2. Which way is less than? Okay, so let's just think about this. She says to the right. Eventually, I would end up at a positive number. Who can give me a positive number? 2. Would this be truthful if I plugged it in? 2 is less than negative 4 1/2. Is that truthful, class?
Yes.
No, 2 is not less than. So that means, Maddie, that cannot be the correct direction. Instead, remember, less than always goes to the left. Let's go to the next one. Negative 4x is less than negative 12. Jace, what do I do first? Okay, we're going to divide by what? Okay, so here's the deal. You don't want to divide just by 4. What number do you see there, Jace? Negative 4. So what do I need to divide by? Negative 4. Very good. We're going to divide by the exact number that we see there. Negative 4 divided by negative 4 is 1. So I'm left with 1x, but the 1 can kind of disappear. Bring down your less than sign. Now let's focus on this over here. Guys, I have a negative divided by a negative. That's 2 negatives. Should my answer be positive or negative?
Positive.
It should be positive. What's the answer?
Positive.
Positive 3. Do I need to flip the symbol?
No.
Remember when I need to flip the symbol. Go back to the red note that you wrote at the beginning. Everybody read it to me. If the last thing you do is multiply or divide by a negative number on both sides, you flip the sign. Guys, look, I divided by a negative. I divided by a negative. Did I divide by a negative number on both sides, yes or no? Yes, I did. So when I say you need to flip the sign, I don't want you to erase it. I want you just to rewrite it underneath. X is greater than 3. Okay, so a lot of people have said, I don't understand. Why can't I just keep the answer like this? How many of you are kind of wondering that? Okay, let me show you what would happen, all right? Let's just imagine that that thing that I circled right there was the correct answer. Let me just erase this. I'll use this space over here on the right, okay? The original problem said negative 4x is less than negative 12. If I were to have this as the answer, x is less than 3. Who can give me a number that's a negative number that's less than 3?
Negative 2.
Negative 2, okay? So would this be a true statement if I plugged this in? Negative 2 is less than 3, yes or no?
Yes.
Yes, that is true, okay? So if I plug in negative 2 right there, that would say negative 4 times negative 2 is less than negative 12. Let's focus on this. Guys, what's a negative times a negative? Positive. So what's that answer going to be?
Positive.
Positive 8. Is this a true statement? 8 is less than negative 12. No. So all of this doesn't make sense, and that's because we did not flip the symbol, okay? So this is one of those rules you want to always remember. Flip that symbol, and then that will help you get the correct answer. Okay, so let's go back to this problem over here, and we are going to go ahead and graph this problem. All right, Jace, what number goes in the middle? 3, very good. Nasir, what number is 1 smaller? 2. Autumn, what's 1 bigger?
4.
Maddie, is this an open or a closed circle?
Open.
It is going to be open because it cannot equal 3. Reagan Stevens, all solutions are greater than 3, so which way should my arrow go? To the right, that is correct. All right, very good. Let's go to the next problem. To Kobe, what is wrong with the variable right now?
It's in the right.
It's on the right side. We don't want it on the right side. So Luke, tell me what we're going to write so that it's no longer on the right side. Remember, you're going to flip these two.
You're gonna switch them.
Okay, tell me what you're writing when you switch them.
So you're gonna write m over 10 on the left,
Very good.
and then negative 0.5 on the right.
And what's my new symbol going to say?
M over 10 is greater than or equal to negative 0.
Excellent. Luke, what should I do to get the m by itself?
Multiply
By?
10.
On both sides, okay? When you do that, tell me what you get.
You, then 10 cancel out, so you just get the vertical, you bring down your sign, and then you're going to multiply, and then, so it's going to be a negative number because there's only one negative sign.
Very good. It's going to be a negative number. Now, a lot of people are pulling out their calculators. Guys, remember, 0.5 is a half. So just tell me, what's half of 10? 5. Very good. And we know, as he said, it was going to be a negative number. Luke, the last thing you did here I can see is multiply by 10. Did you multiply by a negative number on both sides? Yes or no? No, you did not. So we are not going to flip that symbol. All right, so Luke just did this for us. He said it's a closed circle. Class, do you agree or disagree?
Agree.
I do agree also because it can equal negative 5. And his arrow went to the right. Do we agree or disagree with that? I also agree because all solutions are greater than negative 5. Once again, whenever I am working this kind of a problem, when I think in my mind a big number I might end up with, negative 3, negative 2, negative 1, 0, 1, 2. Would this be truthful? I like to get to a positive number. That 2 is greater than or equal to negative 5. Is that true? Yes, it is greater than. Okay, so that is a true statement. And you could plug in any number that is greater than negative 5. All right, with the next one, Abigail, help me with it. What should I do first?
You need to divide.
I'm going to divide by 6 on both sides. Tell us what you get.
Negative.
Read me the whole inequality.
X is greater than negative.
Excellent. Should I flip the symbol? No. The last thing I did was divide by positive 6 on both sides, so I do not need to flip the symbol. Okay, let's compare what it is that she did for us on the board. She says negative 3 is in the middle, negative 4 on the left, and negative 2 on the right. That is correct. She told us an open circle. Class, do you agree with her? Yes. Why is it an open circle? There's no equal to sign there, which means -3 is not a solution to this problem. And then she drew the arrow to the right saying all solutions are greater than -3. Is that a true statement?
Yes.
That is. Very good job. You guys may have a seat. Let's move on to the next problem. Something is wrong with the next problem. Jocelyn, what is it?
It's not switched around, you gotta flip it.
Okay, we always want our variable to be on the left side, so we're going to flip it. When you flip it, Jocelyn, what does your new problem say?
2.5R is, greater than 15.
You are correct. How do I get r by itself?
You divide
By.
by 2.5.
Very good. We're going to get rid of that 2.5, so we're dividing by it on both sides. And tell us what your answer is. Okay, not just 6. Tell me the whole inequality.
R is greater than 6.
Very good, because that tells me there's a lot of solutions for this answer. Jocelyn, do I need to flip the symbol? No, I do not. The last thing I did was divide by a positive number on both sides, so that is my final answer. Jocelyn, come on up, and I want you to graph this for us, please. Everybody else, if you would, graph that on your own as she graphs it on the board. Okay, so looking at hers, she has an open circle. Would you agree it should be open, class?
Yes.
Yes, 6 is not a solution, and she said it should go to the right. So technically, she's saying 7 could be a solution. Would this be truthful? 7 is greater than 6.
Yes.
That is truthful, so she did it correctly. Excellent work. Jacoby, what is wrong with my problem?
The problem is that the variable is in the front of the problem.
You're right. We don't want the variable on the right of the inequality symbol. We want it to be on the left. So guys, if you would, go ahead and flip that for me. Should say -y/2. We're going to flip the symbol and 0.5. Now we've had a problem like this before. When we have these negative numbers, you want to attach the negative sign to either the y or the 2. Our goal is always to get the y by itself. So I do not want a negative attached to the y. Instead, where should I attach that negative? To the 2. So I'm going to erase that negative and put it down here on that y. Jacoby, what should I do now to get the y by itself?
Divide the negative to divide the y.
Okay, so this right here already says divide by -2. So what's the opposite of divide by -2? Multiply by what?
To
-2. Good job. And we're going to do that to both sides. Okay, on the left side, we know -2 divided by -2 equals 1. So I'm left with 1y. I'll drop down my greater than or equal to sign. And to Kobe, looking at this, I have a positive times a negative.
it would be a negative.
It is going to be a negative. And then remember, 0.5 is the same thing as a half. So to Kobe, what's half of 2?
1.
1. Do I need to flip the symbol?
No.
Remember, let's go back to the rule. Look at the rule at the top of your page. Everybody read me what it says in red. Go ahead. If the last thing you do is multiply or divide by a negative number on both sides, you flip the sign. So the last thing we did to Kobe, we multiplied by a -2 on the left, and we multiplied by a -2 on the right. So should I flip the sign? Yes, I should. Remember, please don't erase it. I just want you to rewrite it directly underneath. Y is less than or equal to -1. He's got his -1 in the middle, -2 to the left, and 0 to the right. He told us that it was a closed circle because there is an equal sign. And then he said all solutions are less than -1, and that is a true statement. Raise your hand if you got the same answer that he did up here on our screen. All right, nice work, guys. If you would, go ahead and flip to the next page in our notes. On the next page, we do have a modeling real-life problem, and it says you earn $7.25 per hour at your summer job. Write and solve an inequality that represents the number of hours that you can work to earn enough money to buy a smartphone that costs $725. Interpret what the solution means in a complete sentence. So starting off, class, how much money does it say you earn per hour? All right, so let's write that down, $7.25. Here's some key word that I want you to notice. When it says per hour, That means for 1 hour, I'd earn $7.25. For 2 hours, it would be $7.25 times 2. For 3 hours, it would be $7.25 times 3. Okay, does that make sense? So how would I write in here, since we don't know how many hours it is yet, what would I put there that I need to do? Ellie, what do you think? I'm going to put a variable. Very good. Okay, so we're going to multiply it times something. I'll say times H because it's per hour. Then, what is the dollar amount that we are trying to earn, class? We need to earn $725. So that's going to be what I write over here. That's going to be my final answer. If you were to earn exactly $725, could you buy the phone?
Yes.
Yes. So I could equal. So I'm going to put a little line for the equal to. If I earned less than $725, could I buy the phone? No. If I earned more than, could I buy the phone?
Yes.
Yeah, you just have some extra to go out to lunch or buy a candy bar or something, okay? So you have to have a greater amount than $725. So that's why our symbol is going to be greater than or equal to. Jonathan, how do I get H by itself?
You divide by 7,025.
Very good. We're going to divide by $7.25 on both sides. I want you guys to do this on your own and see what you come up with. Girls, what is $7.25 divided by $7.25?
100.
100. Now, what is this symbolizing? 100, not dollars, hours. So here's what the final question says. Interpret what the solution means in a complete sentence. Does anybody know what this means? You're trying to figure out how many hours you can work to earn enough money. So what does H is greater than or equal to 100 hours mean? Okay, that's a good guess. He says he needs to work 100 hours. That's close. But if this symbol right here said equals, then that would be a true statement. He would have to work 100 hours. But it doesn't say equals. It says greater than or equal to. So who thinks they might be able to interpret what that symbol means? I like it. She says, you can work 100 hours or more. You're allowed to work more hours. Once again, you would just get more dollars, okay? So for me, when I write this in here, I'm going to say, you must work, she said 100 hours or more. I'm going to say you must work at least 100 hours. Those two mean the same thing. 100 hours or more, or at least 100 hours. All right, the next section says, write the word sentence as an inequality and then solve the inequality. Let's start with this. It says the quotient of a number x and -3 is at most 12. What does the quotient mean? Division, okay? How do we use division in our class? A fraction bar, very good. So who can help me with how to write the quotient of a number x and -3? Jacoby, how would I do that?
X over -3.
Very good, okay? And then it says is at most 12. 12 is the easy part, so I'm going to put the 12 in right here. If it says at most, could it equal exactly 12?
Yes.
Yes, so I am going to put the equals. If it says at most, could it be more than 12?
No. It cannot.
Let's think about it in a candy bar situation. If I say the most candy bars you can get is 12, would I allow you to get more than 12? No. So could you get less than 12?
Yes.
Yes, so this is going to be a less than. Okay? Autumn, how do I get x by itself?
Multiply by -3.
Very good. We're going to multiply by -3 on both sides. -3 divided by -3 is 1, so I'm left with 1x on the left side is less than or equal to. Autumn, what is 12 times -3?
-36.
Very good. Do I need to flip the symbol?
Yes.
Yes. MJ, why do I need to flip the symbol?
Because they have both negatives.
The last thing I did was multiply by a negative on both sides. So that means I have to change the symbol to a greater than. And that is our final answer. I want you guys to try problem B on your own. All right, Nasir, help me with this one. 4 times a number is at least negative 36. What did you write?
So first I put 4 and an X beside it.
Very good. 4 times x.
And after that I put greater than or equal to. And put negative 36.
Very good. Now listen, he used his reasoning skills to figure out at least is always going to be this symbol right here. If you don't know that, in our lesson or our notes over 4.4, if you go back to those, you can see I did give you a little box. And in there it had all these different special words. Some people do best just to memorize that every time it says at most, it's going to be a greater than or equal to sign. Other people just like to reason and try to figure it out. If that's you, then let's think through this. Can it be exactly negative 36? Yes, if it says at least, that means the least it can be is negative 36. So we know there needs to be an equal to sign. Could it be more than negative 36? Yes, it can, and that's why he has a greater than sign. Excellent work. Maddie, how do I get x by itself? Okay, I'm going to divide by 4 on both sides. When I do that, I find out that x is greater than or equal to negative 9. Jacoby, do I need to flip the symbol? You only flip the symbol if the last thing you did is multiply or divide by a negative number on both sides.
Yes, you do flip this.
Look right here. I divided by 4 on both sides. Is that a negative number? No, so I don't need to flip the symbol, and that is my final answer. We've got just a couple last problems. 12k is less than or equal to negative 24. Luke, how do I get k by itself?
You divide
Divide by?
12.
Very good. We're going to divide by 12 on both sides. Luke, what do you get when you do that?
K is less than or equal to negative 2.
Very good.
And you don't have to flip the signs because it's a positive number.
Excellent. So that's our final answer. Go ahead and graph it for me. What number should I put in the middle, Luke?
Negative 2.
Okay, what's one smaller than negative 2?
Negative 1.
Think about money. What would be less than?
Oh, sorry, negative 3.
Very good. And on the right side?
Negative 1.
Excellent. Open or close circle?
Close.
It is a closed circle because there's an equal to sign. And going back up here, it says all solutions are less than negative 2. Where do I go for less than?
Left.
Go to the left every time it's less than. Excellent. Let's go to the next problem. We do need to flip to have the variable on the left side. So instead, Abigail, what should it say?
Should be, I'm going to flip it, so that should be n over 8 is greater, well, equal to or greater than 4.
Okay, so the only thing you didn't do is you forgot to flip the symbol. So we don't want it to be greater than, we want it to be
Less than.
less than. Okay, keep going. What should I do?
Then you have to multiply by 8.
Very good.
Both sides.
Okay,
Then the m is by itself. And then 4 times 8 is 32. So n is equal to or less than 32.
good job. Do I need to flip the symbol?
No.
No, because the last thing I did was not multiply or divide by a negative number on both sides. All right, so class, what number goes in the middle? 32. What's 1 less than 32? 31. What's 1 bigger? 33. This is going to be a closed circle, and all solutions are less than, so it's going to go to the left. All right, final problem of the day. The product of 5 and a number y. Remember, product means to do what, class? Multiply. That's negative 5 times y. This says less than 20. I want to get this by itself, so what do I have to do? Nope. Divide by negative 5. You are left with y is less than, guys, what's 20 divided by negative 5? Negative 4. Should I flip my symbol?
Yes.
Yes, the last thing I did was divide by a negative on both sides, so you do need to flip the symbol. Tonight we do have homework. It is 9 problems on big ideas.